Hello, everyone. Tina at One Mom's Battle, and I just wanted to check in, do some updates about OMB, what's going on with me personally, and some bittersweet stuff. We have our youngest daughter. Who is just recently turned 18. She's graduating from high school in June. And so many of you have been a part of my journey since she was 3 years old. And so you really have been, such a huge part of our lives. And so sharing this new chapter is, bittersweet because I'm so excited for her and for what the future holds and for this chapter that she's going into. But also, I don't know how anyone goes through this and doesn't feel, you know, their heart just, I wish it would have been so much different. This was not what I envisioned for motherhood. Was wanting to fast forward through so many different aspects of my kids' lives. I really wanted to be present and to some extent I was, but then there is the reality of this battle. And I've shared before, there are sometimes I'll see a picture or a video and I know I was there because I'm either in the picture or I was taking the picture, but I really wasn't there because my head was worrying about the next court date or what my kids were being subjected to. We're the family court system really hijacks motherhood and parenthood for those of you who may not be a mom, but you are the healthy parent, and they are out there. I know this is an issue that does affect both genders. I've shared before, I was raised by my dad. He was the healthier of my two parents. But, regardless of what the gender is, this is not what we would have chosen for our own personal experiences raising these amazing humans, but we would have never chosen this for our kids. And so, there's lots of feelings that come up with these big milestones. And if you're feeling that in any capacity, I see you, and my heart is with you. I have been very open about sharing my health journey. I have a very rare autoimmune disease where my body is attacking my spinal cord, which causes me all kinds of issues with balance and walking and not being able to feel my hands and feet and typing and just fine motor skills. So I am still navigating all of that. Unfortunately, I have had some disease progression and waiting to hear back from my neurologist on some of that. But, the body keeps the score, as the book says. And so many of us are navigating these health issues as a result of what we have been through. And so, that's kind of where I am right now. But, all of this has really forced me to examine where I want to show up in this space as an advocate, as an author, and as a resource for so many people who depend on OMB as a lifeline for their own custody battles, whether it's our community or the resources that we share. Where I have decided to really invest myself and my time and my energy is meeting people where they are in the beginning of their journey, before they have been, before they've made mistakes in their cases, before the system has started to or has swallowed them whole. It's not to say if you have made mistakes, if you are deeply, being consumed by this system, which is not broken, it's working the way it was designed, that there is no hope for you or no help. We have lots of resources and I'll talk about those. But where I am going to invest my personal time is trying to help parents recognize what they're up against. Education is power. and really helping them to get into the strategy mindset, because that is critical. So many people get stuck on the one of the first steps, which is radical acceptance. There is a reality to the system that we're in. We don't have to agree with it, but we do have to be present in the here and now to fully accept what we are up against, and then shift our mindset. Nature intended for us to protect our kids. This is a system that ties our hands behind our backs. And this is where being strategic is so important to the outcome of your case. And so I have developed a new platform so I can put my focus on this, and that is called the Rulebook Academy. You can go to therulebookacademy.com. I'm going to launch an entire library of courses. There are 3 over there live right now. Whether you need a documentation system that you can jump in no matter how buried you are in paperwork. So many people say, I am up to my eyeballs, or I am just I'm drowning in paperwork. I don't even know where to start. Regardless of whether you're at the beginning of the journey or deeply into it, the documentation system that I created not only helped me to protect my kids, but it has helped so many other people to protect theirs, creating a concise timeline and helping you to pull all of that together, helping you understand what matters to the court. How do you break it down in bite-sized pieces for them to absorb? And I learned, trial and error, literally through my own experience. My first custody evaluation was a disaster because I didn't understand the system. I didn't know how to present it in a way that she could, latch onto it. And, that's a big topic, and it's going to be different for everyone. But we have to, so many of us go in and we emotionally vomit on professionals who we believe are there to protect our kids. And it's so important to develop that elevator pitch, and to truly focus on what they care about. And, unfortunately, our idea of what is acceptable when it comes to parenting is not in line with the reality of the court system. It is a very low bar or threshold. A parent showing up with a pulse is considered to be a good parent in the eyes of the court. And just to briefly touch on that, why is that? A whole variety of reasons depending on who you're standing in front of, which judge. But in general, our system is so overburdened with deadbeat parents that if somebody steps up and says, hey, I've never done this before, or I've completely failed at it in the past, obviously they're not going to admit that. They're going to pretend that they have been a part of the kid's life from day one. And in fact, they were the primary parent. But the reality is, anybody stepping up and saying, hey, I'm willing to give this a shot, the judge and the professionals are going to give them a standing ovation. And so understanding all of that, radical acceptance, managing your expectations about the system, all goes into the formula for a successful outcome. And so many people say there's no rule book for this journey, and I disagree. And I have taken it upon myself to write the rule book and to share it with everyone through a series of online courses. That is going to be part of my ongoing activity. Community and connections. This, I was just reminded of how important this community is because I did a retreat near Yosemite, and watching these dozen women come together, and so many of them feel isolated and alone, and even their well-meaning friends and family members don't get it. Because you really can't unless you have walked this path. So the power of community, whether that is continuing to host retreats. I have another one in November in Washington State. The One Mom's Battle private chapters, these are free. Everyone should be a part of their private state or regional chapter. It is a great way to learn about the system, to connect with others who are navigating the same system, the same professionals. And you have to become knowledgeable. You have to become an expert on your local system. I also have the Lemonade Club. So if you're not on Facebook, if you're looking for a community, I host a Zoom call once a month, and all of the members of the Lemonade Club, we come together, update each other on what's going on our cases, and brainstorm, strategize. Everybody brings something to the table, and we all can learn so much from each other. I am still learning, and I have been in this for 15 years. You can't, there's so much information out there, and learning from each other is such valuable. It is an incredible resource. So training other people so I can continue passing torches. We are creating an army. That is the High Conflict Divorce Coach Certification Program. It is an 8-week intensive course. I have people who, one of my instructors is Dr. Romani. We have Dr. Catherine Barrett, Dr. Dan Beck. Jeff Diamond is a family law attorney, trial attorney in Texas. He is brilliant. We have an incredible lineup of instructors. And when I say we are creating an army, so many of these individuals are going out, passing laws in their state. And they are the movers and shakers and change makers, but they're also the people you want on your team if in fact you have gone down a bad path and you've made mistakes, or you just want to strategize at a higher level and make sure that you don't make mistakes. You can go to hcdivorcecoach.com. I have people who go through the 8-week course with no intention of helping other people. They just want to know everything they can for their own cases. So we have a wide variety of students in the program, but I highly encourage you to connect with one of the coaches. Absolute game changer. It's, so much of what I've done over the past decade is to create the resources that I wish I would have had when I was going through my own case. I couldn't afford an attorney, but would I have worked with a divorce coach to guide me, somebody who has lived experience in this realm, plus this type of training? Absolutely. I feel like it would have been a faster way to the end zone, which was essentially protecting my kids. So a couple of great resources. Our children's line, I am going to continue building on what my daughters have created, tools that were helpful to them when they were in it themselves. We have a children's book. We have affirmation cards I used to read with them every single morning before school to help, tell them how important their voice was. Pinkfireworks.com is that website. We also have an Amazon store, so you can order directly on there. I'm going to continue exposing the alienation industry. In my humble opinion, this industry of professionals who have created an entire multi-level marketing scheme surrounding the pseudo theory of parental alienation, which was concocted by a pedophile sympathizer to be used as a legal strategy for men who were essaying their children. The origins are incredibly disturbing, actually rooted in a cult. And they've taken a lot of the cult teachings and they are pushing this on our kids, and they're making a lot of money. They have convinced the court system that they have all of the solutions to these cases that are labeled as high conflict, when what we know to be true is it only takes one person to create conflict. And in these cases, the majority of times, it is a high conflict individual and a parent, a protective parent who is desperate to protect their kids. So we are going to keep shining a spotlight on these charlatans who are turning childhood trauma that they are creating into revenue streams with experimental treatments and programs. And that is a big part of where my heart is. I'm also working to make sure that One Mom's Battle is the resource center for anyone navigating this. Resources like research, case law, anything, books, resources, anything that we find to be helpful. If you have a resource that should be listed on our website, be sure to send it to us at info@onemomsbattle.com. I would love to look at it and see if it's a good fit. I really intend for this to be out the one-stop shop for anybody who is navigating this journey. Our educational packets that we send to judges anonymously, educateyourjudge.com. We're going to keep doing those. What I would caution you, if you are looking to send your judge an educational packet to help them understand these high conflict cases and help them to connect the dots, that this is not a matter of two people who just can't get along. These are big issues that are traumatizing kids. If there is any chance your financial records could be subpoenaed, don't order it yourself. Have a friend, a family member, someone else anonymously send the packet to your judge or your family court professional. I don't always worry about those things, but in cases where there are more financial resources, subpoenas do tend to be more common. And the reality is this isn't coming from you, even if you were to send it. It is general information to help judges connect the dots. And not all judges can be helped by this. If you have a judge who is corrupt or colluding, I would not even waste your time. But if you have a judge who is newer to the bench, most of them have no training in domestic abuse, this could help them to understand these dynamics, and we share resources and research and things like that. What I am stepping away from: legislative change. I am completely done. I will always serve as a legislative hub or center to help keep people informed on what laws are out there, where they should get involved, maybe to either help fight a law that is going to not be in the best interest of children, or connecting them with people who are pushing laws that are child-centric. So on the One Mom's Battle website, you can find our legislative hub, but I am officially done in the trenches and done being personally involved. I've had multiple death threats lately, and so have other advocates I work with, and I take that very seriously. There comes a point where I have to say, I have done my time, and I am passing lots and lots of torches. So many of these completely unhinged people who have sent, somebody said that they would put a wood chipper by the river and turn me into fish food to solve the problems that I am. So many of these people believe I hold way more power than I do. I am blamed for passing laws that I didn't even participate in or didn't even know about. It is absolutely bizarre to watch. If I were an unhealthy person with a big ego, I'd be out there taking credit for all of these laws. And there are definitely people who do that in the advocacy world. However, if anything, I have always downplayed my involvement, and now my involvement is really going to decrease in a significant way. And I am, what we need is solid people to come together state by state and take the lead. That's what it takes. The states that are successfully passing laws and making changes are the states where they have a core group of people who just say, we've got this, here's what we need to do, but please help them. It is so frustrating. The biggest issue in the world of advocacy is that so many people are voicing frustration and anger about what is happening. But when we put out a call to action and say, call this senator, do this, do that, it's crickets. And the only thing that is going to change our state laws is people coming together. We have to unite. And when somebody takes the lead, we have to support them, or it's going to continue getting worse and worse. I have watched this for 15 years now. And as bad as the system was back then, we are in an absolute crisis today. Our family court system is a crisis. And I believe when a brave journalist will finally cover this story, it will go down in history as the biggest scandal of our lifetime, what we are doing to children, or one of the biggest scandals of our lifetime. Coaching, I'm no longer doing coaching, but I do, again, pass the torch to those who have come through my program, who I trust, to take that torch and run with it and continue lighting the darkness of what we are all experiencing. You can connect with one of those coaches at hcdivorcecoach.com. Just click find a divorce coach, but you do not have to be married or going through a divorce to use one. They are trained to help anyone. If it's a paternity case, regardless of what it is, if you are fighting to protect your children, they can help you. And again, if you have resources that you think should be included on our website, go ahead and send it to info@onemomsbattle.com. We have to keep hope alive. And I know this is an ultra marathon. Sometimes it feels like it's uphill both ways in extreme conditions. But please know that I see the most horrifying cases do a 180. I just got an email last week from someone who said, I've been in this 9 years. I had lost hope. Some person came along and turned everything around. And that's what we have to remember. You never know. This is an unpredictable journey up against unpredictable individuals and an absolute shit show of professionals who are claiming to help kids, but they're not. But there are some good ones out there. They are the rare unicorns. You never know when one of them is going to cross your path or be appointed to your case. And if I had zero hope, I wouldn't be in this. I would go back to doing travel writing, doing my PR job. Those are things I love, but I still have hope. And that's why I continue, because I do see success stories, even ones where everyone else had lost hope. So regardless of where you are in this journey, regardless of what has happened in your case, or if you're just starting off on this journey, my heart is with you. I am cheering you on. I am sending you love, light, and lots of positive thoughts. And take care, everyone. I'll see you again soon.